Hi mamas, it's Jude here, mother, doula, childbirth educator, and all-round positive birth advocate. So it's been so amazing to have all of your questions coming in the last couple of days. And there was one, it's come in various different forms, that I wanted to answer real quick here for all of you. So Sarah says, I wanted to read hers because she phrased it so beautifully. Sarah says, I really believe that there are horrible misogynistic undertones to a lot of maternity policies these days. I want to trust my body and have a birth that is as uninterfered with as possible. But how do I know when medical intervention really is necessary to save my birth? So that is a great question, Sarah. And it's the reason that so many of us allow hospitals and doctors to dictate our birth experiences to us. No one wants to take responsibility for putting their child's life at risk. So here is the answer to your question, the short answer. There are two key things that you can do to make sure that if and when that moment comes, you feel confident that the right decisions are being made. The first one is get informed, get educated. Now, you don't need to know everything about everything. Birth professionals study for years to understand the ins and outs and intricacies of the birth process. But you do need to understand how birth works, fairly simply why it works the way it works, and some of the main interventions, when they work, when they don't work, what they're good for. Because with that knowledge, you'll feel confident to ask questions of your caregivers. To say, I'm sorry, could you explain to me why you're wanting to do this? Why are you thinking? So we always have 4 questions that we advise birthing mamas to ask if they feel uncertain about an intervention that's being offered. The first question is, why do you want to do this? The second one is, what do you think the chances of this working are? The third question is, what other alternates would there be in the circumstances? And the fourth is, what happens if we do nothing for a while? Wait and see how things progress. Jot those 4 questions down and don't ever be afraid to ask them. That brings me to the second most powerful thing that you can do to make sure that you understand when interventions are necessary and when they're not, and feel confident to make those choices. And that thing is choosing the right caregiver. So this can start really, really early in your prenatal care journey. And I always tell mums to listen out for the language that a caregiver uses. Now, sometimes it is not so subtle and it will hit you in the face. You won't believe some of the stories I've heard mums tell. Caregivers who've said to them, basically, birth is like going to the toilet, don't try and make it romantic. Or mums who've said they'd like to try with no pain relief and had a doctor say to them, I will hear you screaming from the parking lot, you'll be begging me for meds. Now, I don't know about you, but the moment you hear language like that, I know I'm talking to someone who has no respect for my body, for the process of birth, for the beautiful ability that women have to bring life into the world. That's a huge red flag, and I would go running a mile. But listen more carefully for some more subtle language that may give you a cue to the fact that you're speaking to someone who in the long run might not respect your decisions around birth. Listen for language like, we will let you do this, we will let you try labor for X amount of hours. It's nobody's job to let you do anything. You are the birthing mum. Listen for language around what birthing people are called. My ladies, all my ladies have a quick birth, or all my girls do well. Look for that pronoun, my births, my ladies, my babies. These are all little cues that you might be speaking to someone who doesn't have a truckload of respect for the birth process. The final cue I'd be on the lookout for is any caregiver who gets defensive when you ask questions. Any caregiver worth their salt should take the time to answer questions, even ones that they believe to be foolish. There is no reason a mom should ever not have her questions answered. And if someone is telling you that you're being irresponsible, that you're silly, that you don't need to know those things, that they'll make the decision when the time comes, that is another red flag for you to maybe go out and look for someone who respects the process of birth and shares your values around what you want your birth to look like. So Sarah, I hope that's answered your question, and to all the pregnant mamas out there, I hope that's been useful. Of course, as always, if you want information, inspiration, and support in your journey, come and join us at the Birthplace Hub.